we never want to start with grammar. If we start with grammar, it is gonna make everything, in my opinion, it feels almost impossible. I feel like grammar is one of the hardest elements to really, can be one of the hardest elements to just start understanding. Usually in the past, even when I've like learned grammar and understood it and like, yep, okay, got it, no problems, it sometimes like it just doesn't process till a little bit later. So never start with grammar. That's why, oops, last time we started with the e endings, right? So, and there's a bunch of different e endings. We still haven't technically covered all of them. So that'll come eventually. But right, we started somewhere. And so the idea is we're kind of just like, we're going to be, I'll show you in a second, but we'll be blocking stuff off one bit at a time. Same idea, our mindset. We're not trying to understand 100%, right? And we're not trying to just translate sentences. Not yet. Okay. In general, this translating sentences is really something that comes much later. If you try to understand 100% from the beginning, you end up not actually really learning how to, you don't actually really learn how to just suck up Japanese. You'll be able to, essentially what you'll do in the long run is you'll look at it and you'll like take each word at a time, translate each word at a time, and then try to make sense of it. But if you do like look at a word, translate, look at a word, translate, and don't kind of break it up initially like we're doing, I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I predict that that usually leads to kind of a pattern of, oh, I know what this is, or like I know these words but I don't understand what the sentence is. But if we're taking it from an identification, starting with identification, we can quickly identify what we aren't familiar with, so that when we come across the grammar that's usually making us not understand it. For example, tekara is probably one of the most, I'll put it over here. Tekara is like a verb, so a conjugation of a verb in te form and then plus kara. It means basically after. It's probably one of the most common ones I see people not understand, because they think, oh, it's te form and kara is like dakara, and so they think they understand, but they don't actually understand. But through identification, if we know like, okay, yep, this is a verb in te form, but verbs don't go, I've never seen verb in a te form plus kara. It's always just kara or dakara. I've never seen it with te. And that hopefully should make us go like this and be like, I don't know about that. And hopefully look at it in a different way. Maybe you look up tekara and then you're like, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, this is grammar I didn't know about. So that's kind of why grammar is last, and that's the long-term goal. So identification, that's the goal. Think and wonder. Kind of what I just explained. Oh, why is it like that? I've never seen it conjugated that way. I've always seen it takara or dakara or something. So thinking and wondering will help kind of lead you in the right direction just on your own. All right, so we're doing this one again, Ore Monogatari, for people who are watching this and want to look it up and stuff. So it seems silly, we're just going through the same thing, but that's what it is. Last time we did the e endings, right? So if we did e endings last time, now we know what to eliminate. So we're kind of like, let's just assume we know this, or we at least can break it up, and we would go, okay, well, I'm not going to be looking at this time. And for us, that was the only e ending so far, the only thing we really know what it is technically. Let's pretend we don't know anything except e endings. Which anime this is? Rockshane, this is Ore Monogatari. Ore Monogatari. It's my #1 recommendation if you're trying to do, if you want to learn how to understand Japanese, or if you want to learn Japanese through anime, this is my approach, and this is what I think is, you know, especially if you're just starting from nothing. But even if you're experienced, in my opinion, I think anybody can benefit this, unless you're already at a very, like, pretty high level, like understanding 70% or more of stuff. Even then, it might help you just to kind of take a different approach. But yeah, so why this? Basically, this anime is great. I'll just say again, is this guy talks like an anime character, so it's very clear, like, oh, this is kind of a weird way to talk. He's very unique, but he sounds like anime characters. Everybody else talks pretty normal, right? He's kind of intellectual, she's very simple. So everybody, like, you know, the stuff he says is usually very straightforward. It's just like, this is great, like, ooh, nice, that would be very difficult, wouldn't it? So it's very nice and approachable if you're trying to learn Japanese. Always at the beginning of an anime, though, or any show you watch, it's gonna be, yeah, there's lots of text. So I usually recommend just go, don't really worry about the first 2 to 5 minutes of any show, or any content in general that's like similar to this, just because you usually it's so advanced, like very advanced Japanese a lot of the time. Lots of words, lots of very, like, you know, fruitsy vocabulary. So it's usually better just, hey, let me just skip to the part where everybody's talking, and that's going to be much easier. So essentially what we're looking at today is nouns and na adjectives. Okay. So nouns and na adjectives. That's going to be our main focus. The question is, how do we identify nouns and na adjectives / na adjectives? And the answer is almost the same. So by knowing the conjugations, that's number one, right? If you're looking at something and it says ends in datta, I know it's either a noun or an adjective. If it ends in janai, I know it's a noun or an adjective. So we'll go into that in detail in a bit, but that's a pretty big deal, just to be able to see, like, how many times have you guys seen janai? Like a bajillion, right? But a lot of people don't know when to use janai. Why janai? Why now? Or they've never even thought about it in the first place. So like, oh, I just, like, you know, some people will say stuff at the beginning like, taberu janai. I'm like, oh, yeah. So this was really interesting, actually. So when I started to kind of do this and get these slides, I was like, how can we identify verbs and nouns when they don't have a conjugation, so to say? You know, when they have datta or janai or janakata, they have these endings, and it's pretty obvious. But when it's not there, I was like, geez, how can somebody with almost no Japanese ability identify this? And I realized, I guess I just never thought about it, but particles are actually a really good indicator for this and for a lot of stuff, but very specifically nouns and non-adjectives can really help you, particles will really help you identify those. Which particles? Well, kind of all of them, but not really. Look, it's hard, and I'm not telling you to understand what these mean, but wa, ga, and no, I think, are the biggest ones. I think if you just start there and then realize, like, look, honestly, it's kind of like de and ni a lot of the time too. Maybe even e. It's almost all of them. Maybe it is all of them. Do all of them just relate to nouns, actually? No. Technically, yes, I think, which is actually pretty crazy. Huh. It's like I'm definitely missing some particles here, but that's really interesting. So even more than I expected. But oftentimes if there's a particle next to it, one of these, wa, ga, no, these all have lots of different usages and meanings. So let's not go there yet. I would consider this grammar. Okay, we don't want to do grammar yet. But if you can, maybe if you want to know one, maybe look up no. Look up no, and it's kind of like possession is like one of its basic meanings. Okay, I think that one can help us. So if we look at this, let's look at this sentence. What is our noun? Do we have any nouns here? Noun or not adjectives? Nanka arimasu ka? Can you guys identify any? Akaoni. That's right. Akaoni. Right? Hey, maybe you have no idea what this means, but a ga here is a good indicator that this is a noun. Maybe you can't read it. Maybe you don't know. That's not the goal right now. If you want to look it up, go ahead and look it up. I think it's fine. In this part of, you know, the way that we're doing this, go ahead and look up words if you can, or whatever. I think it's fine. Akaoni. All right, you look it up. Red demon ogre or red ogre, whatever you want to call them. The dogers, red demon ogre. And ga is kind of, if you don't have any idea, ga is a good indicator of how to find that. Okay. And then look, there is another one, hitori. Okay. But even if you don't find that, guess what? It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal if you don't find hitori. Okay. I promise you'll see it again. Hitori, one person, means one person. So this is saying, right? Well, first, you can kind of see if we just kind of the goal that we're going for is slowly crossing everything out to understand it. So cross this out, cross this out, cross this out. So slowly but surely, we're learning how to identify parts of the sentence, which will help us understand everything. So by next time, we'll have verbs. So next week, hopefully we'll tackle verbs, and then look how much we have left then, right? Okay, so you've gotten rid of the E ending, the noun, z, and the verb. And yeah, particles are in there, like ga, de, but who cares? Like, not critical yet. And then you just got one word left, tata. And then maybe you look that up and you do or don't understand it. It's okay. That's kind of what we're shooting for. And this is kind of a hard sentence, but if we take it one thing at a time, which we can't take it one thing at a time if we can't know what something is. If I don't know this is, if I think that this is a word like shi aka, well then I'm really screwed. Like nothing is gonna work. So being able to break stuff apart is a huge key, and yeah, it might take some time, but that's a huge key of understanding. This is just one approach for some people. Okay, if somebody wants to just from zero to nothing do something, this is how they could do it. Personally, I'm on the side of like, I don't care what type of thing it is, but it feels different, right? To me, I was just like, oh, this is like one of those words. This is one of those words. This is like a thing that attaches to this, and then this is like an adjective. That might not be true, but that's how it felt. So if you like it like that, that's fine. So that's the first one. So how do we identify anything? By knowing the conjugations and by knowing grammar rules. So it's pretty much how it's always going to be. Grammar, this is going to be like one of the last things we learn. We got to know the conjugations. That is the critical thing. Okay. Hi. Anybody know these words? Wakarimasu ka? Kore to kore desu. Today. Kyou. Kyou. Okay. Now how would I say not today? Not today. So this is going to show us if we're watching an anime or whatever. If I see this one's harder, I'll get to it in a second, but this very obvious. Very obvious. For example, the meeting is not today, or the stream is not today. So there you go, 5. 今日じゃない。今日じゃない. Okay. So, this is, maybe you've heard of janai. Maybe you just didn't know that it was only for these type of words. Maybe. But that's how it is. So, verb plus janai, no. E ending plus janai, no. There's like, we'll just say there's always an exception, but this is a pretty good rule to say that there's no exceptions. There's things that will seem like exceptions to you, but they're not. Is how I should say it. Kyo today, so gonna push through. So kyo janakatta. Kyo janakatta. That's the one you were looking for, Rakshane. So was not today. Was not today. So then we ask, okay, how do you say was today? And this would be in plain Japanese, not polite. So how would I say was today? The meeting was today, or it was today in Japanese. So you got it. You got it. Kyou datta. Kyou datta. Very good. Very good. Kyou datta. Okay. So I'll talk about it in a second again, but now we have a very, very, very clear visual of what we're supposed to be looking for in an anime. How would we identify if something is this type of word? Well, it's if it has janai, datta, or janakata, it's that. And just to cover, last time we did e endings, right? And the way you conjugate an e ending was for past tense, get rid of the e, add kata. It's the same thing we're doing here. So that's also very nice to know. One less conjugation thing to worry about. Okay. Kyou datta. Okay. So therefore, that was a noun today. It's going to be the same with a na adjective. A lot of people ask, how do I know if it's a na adjective? Well, the na isn't always there, right? So how would we know? Well, for this one, you just kind of have to know. If it's by itself, you would never know. If I just say, I like grapefruit juice. Grapefruit juice is ski. You'd never know that that's an adjective. But if I said, mukashi wa suki datta, then you have a guess. Oh, it's either a noun or a non-adjective. It's really only if you attach something to it, skina hito or skina juice. Ichiban skina juice no aji wa nan desu ka? Oh, my favorite type of juice is grapefruit juice or something like that. That's like the only time you can really know. There are some patterns, but I tried to organize it, and there's too many for it to be studyable. So I would just, you take it one at a time. It was not. There are patterns, and there's like but there's over like 10 or 15, so it's not really like, hey, there's not that many, we can do it. Well, there is more than I thought, so it's not really one you can just kind of study out. The imposter non-adjectives that end in e always trip me up. Yeah, I honestly, there's only like a few, and I think they trip us up because usually we have to learn them right at the beginning, right? So yeah, sometimes a non-adjective can end in e, but it's almost like a misleader. It's misleading, because if you were to put this in kanji, which I guess I'll just show you real quick. Well, there's no e ending to be seen, right? So that's kind of how sometimes it is written with the kanji, but that's like the big indicator. Whereas kawaii, if I do that in kanji, the e is still sticking out. So the e part of the e ending will never be covered up by kanji. And that's a good, at least a way. Ski though. Yeah, that's true. But ski doesn't end in e, so it's not relevant in that situation. So I'm not saying all e adjectives, I'm not saying all na adjectives are covered up by kanji. I'm saying if it is an e ending na adjective, confusing. If it's a na adjective that happens to end in e, it will always be covered up by kanji. Does that make sense? It's very unnecessary information, I feel, but some people like knowing that so that they have like, oh, I can approach this logically. But yeah, me, I was never really that type. Maybe I was, I don't know. So the same thing. It's gonna be ski, ski janai, ski janakatta, ski datta. Liked, I liked it before, or I used to like it, something like that. Okay, so something that's very important. Guess I'm limited on my kanji knowledge, but it makes sense. Yeah. It's I mean, I didn't know that really for a long time, but I don't know, some people like information like that. So really, you just, if you want like the simple thing, the simplest thing is the least amount of memorization, right? So instead of thinking about all these extra steps of, oh, kanji this and that with is an end in the e, but it's a not, just remember it. Okay, if you get it wrong, it's okay. You're not gonna die. If you're like, you know, if you say skikatta or something which is wrong, it's okay. It's okay. One day, as long as you're paying attention, you'll see it in an anime and it'll say skidatta, and then you go, oh wait, datta, isn't that for, I thought, wait a second, and then you're in the good, right? You're good to go. So just because of time, this is really important for conversation. So that's not really our focus. You're not gonna die, I just feel like it. This is really important for everyday conversation, and that's why this is from my lessons. But this is how you do this in polite. Okay, kyou desu, kyou janai desu, kyou janakatta desu, suki janai desu, suki janakatta desu. So in conversation, when you're trying to figure out, oh, am I saying des or mas or deshta or something else, these are very important to know. But it's not so bad in anime because it'll just be there and you're just identifying it with the proper things anyway, so not as big of a deal. However, anyone know what the polite of datta would be? What is the polite of datta? Poraito, datta no poraito deshita. Nice, very good. So we would say kyou deshita, suki deshita. Good. So what does this tell us? Okay, well, if we see deshita 5,000, not 5,000%, yes, but this helps us identify if something is a noun or an adjective. Specific, and that's really it. Last time we had a bunch of different variations and it was important to look at irregular stuff, but not really for these. The things that you want to know for anime is, or shows, is like this, okay? If we can identify stuff by the ending, these are the same, just with kanji, okay? So I'm gonna look at the kanji. Here's your readings if you want them. Kyo, it's just kyo, right? It ends in a kanji, or sorry, it ends in da. Or here's an alternative of janai is dewanai. Dewanai. These are very common, so that's why I'm talking about them now. In a later lesson, we'll talk about variations, basically variations of verbs, adjectives, nouns, and grammar. But this one is so common that it's just worth learning it now. But yeah, so kyou da, kyou de wa nai, or kyou janai. Kyou de wa arimasen, kyou ja arimasen, or kyou janai. So these are the same thing, just polite. And it'd be the same as kyou janai and kyou janai desu, right? So what I teach is kyou janai desu. That's what you would use in everyday conversation. Kyou de wa arimasen. You're never gonna, I promise, you'll almost never say that in conversation. Never. But do you see de wa arimasen in anime and stuff all the time? Yeah. Like every episode, it feels there's some de wa arimasen. So de wa arimasen. You know. But not normal. Not normal in everyday life. Okay? And arimasen deshita. So janakatta desu. Janakatta desu. Janakatta desu. Okay. So again, our point right now is identification. So we want to know stuff that looks like this is a noun or a non-adjective. The hard one is honestly when it's just nothing. And I think that's where the particles come in handy. Is it's like kyo, period. That we don't know. If you don't know a ton, you might be confused. But if it's like kyo no, right? That's very likely, not always necessarily, but you know, kyo no party, right? That can help you maybe figure out, oh, kyo, okay, gotcha. Now I'll just reiterate one more time. When I was learning and stuff, yeah, I was not actually, there we go. So when I was learning, this is not exactly how I did it. Okay. I definitely was breaking everything up and identifying everything. That was very much what I did, but I did not know, other than na adjectives, I think, because you know about na adjectives and you see na, like, that was the only thing I really knew what it was. So I didn't know that, I had never heard of an e adjective or anything like that, I don't think. So it's not crucial that you, oh, it's a noun, I have to know it's a noun. No, but you just have to be able to identify it goes in certain categories. Like, you know, if we have a bunch of marbles, like you can just know that it's a red thing, right? Red, green, blue. You don't have to know that they're called marbles to separate them in different categories, right? Oh, this is red with a blue dot. This is, and then over here is red with a green dot. This is green with the yellow dot. Like, you don't need to know that they're called marbles, or like, oh, this is a plastic marble. Like, it doesn't matter. They're things, right? They're things, and you're just organizing them based on how they look. And that's exactly what we're doing here, right? And so, you know, like, no matter what pops in here, it's, oh, this is one of those words that uses this, or, oh, this is one of those words that uses da. Yes, that's exactly why I teach this, is because I think a lot of people have a lot of the knowledge, like the e ending, blah 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 blah, but they've never categorized it. But this is literally the first thing that I did in my brain when I learned Japanese overseas. They taught me stuff. As soon as I got here, this is what my brain told me to do, and it was just like, oh, like, these go with this, this goes with this, these are this kind. And I have like nearly flawless grammar. There's always random mistakes I make, but like, grammar is one of the things, like, perfect grammar is one of the things that I consider myself to be good at. So, and like, this is where it starts. Like, this is basically the equivalent of knowing whether to say a apple or an apple. Or like, it's kind of, you know, it's closer to like she don't know versus she doesn't know. That's what this is like. We'll look at a few examples. So scratch out the e adjective, because that's what we learned, and then try to identify nouns. Oftentimes nouns are kanji, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm like, let's not, right? So I think it's good to identify nouns, but please don't go looking up every single kanji you see. It's not going to be good for you. I will talk about kanji later, and how to approach those, and then I have an article kind of summarizing a lot of this stuff. But don't worry about, like, go ahead, like, just be like, okay, koko something something nante samishize. All right, the important part is just to know, like, this plus this plus this plus this and a thing. We just want to see the structure first. If we're going in order, we do the e adjective, figure that out, and then you're going to be looking up nante, kind of. Yeah. Different high schools is lonely. That's right. That's right. So, koko. So what this sentence should be is koko ga betsu betsu ni naru. Essentially, betsu betsu ni naru nante samishii ze. So, like, if you're gonna go to a different high school, we're gonna miss you so much. Essentially, like, it's gonna be so lonely without you. It's gonna be so lonely going to different high schools. You know, there's a bunch of different translations you could do. Right. Okay, let's get rid of our e adjective. Okay, oftentimes nouns are attached to e adjectives, and I think if you can, a name is pretty easy to identify. So if you can look at a name and identify that, that's usually pretty good. Sato-san. Not much to think about. There's so much going on here, right? De can indicate that this is a noun. Datta indicates that this is a noun or an adjective. No indicates this is a noun or an adjective. So what do? There's like 5 different things we could look up. A bunch. Don't look them all up. I would say often if you're just doing it the first time, maybe write down one, and hopefully what will naturally happen as you keep watching stuff is you'll realize that you keep seeing this one and maybe this one, but you're like, I never saw that one again. Iinkai, like, give up and enjoy the anime. Yeah, in a way. It's like we still want to be proactive. We don't want to be totally passive. But just remembering that nouns are often the least important words to look up. Very, very true. They're some of the most uncommon, like iinkai, like members committee or whatever. Like, it pops up, sure, but it's like such a dumb word. Like, I don't want to know that word. I would love to know the word together. What a super, super useful word, right? You might not realize that. Egao, you know, smile. Kind of useful. So if I'm doing this for the first time or I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know that, but I promise you're going to see Isho the most, Egao the second most, Saito-san the third most probably, and Iinkai the fourth most, right? So I know that. You don't know that yet. So just keep watching stuff. Keep watching stuff. What keeps popping up? That'll tell you the answer. Kakkoi ne. This one didn't have anything. Okay. All right, guys. Your turn. Can you identify any nouns or not adjectives in this sentence? So is baka, is it a noun or an adjective? So in this case, let's just first look at what it is right now. Right now, it's a non-adjective, very clearly, right? Right? Our goal is not to become linguistic masters. We're just trying to figure out what kind of words are what. So like, that I know, oh, okay, here we actually have technically a noun and a noun. Right? Noun. Na is our glue. Noun, right? Right. So baka, yeah, if I just say baka by itself, it like feels like a noun, and yeah, it is. It's like, but then it can be baka na koto. Then it is, then it isn't. Who cares, right? We just need to know. We don't have to we're not getting tested on the linguistics of baka. We just got to put it in the right category. We can clearly see it's a marble, okay? Just put it in the pile of marbles that are also red. We don't necessarily have to like cut open the marble and look inside. Oh my gosh, this is like a rare igneous rock that was put into it 30 years ago. Like, it doesn't matter. Just put it in the pile of the same colors, okay? Akana koto. So here, that's our thing. Koto, technically a noun. Yuna. Good. So I think a lot of people, when they're first learning Japanese, they might think that this is a na adjective. Okay. A lot of people do. They'll be like, but na is there. This is also how a lot of people misuse non-adjectives. Easy piece of advice: a sentence or anything you ever say will never end with na if it's a non-adjective. So, dang it, I just thought of a very rare instance. Sometimes you hear sonna bakana, but it's implied. That's a very, very rare exception, but I thought about it, so I have to say it. But in general, like, you're never gonna say like, you know, skina, sore wa skina. Like, a lot of people misuse it that way. You know, skina desu ka? Skina desu ka? That's wrong. All that kind of stuff is wrong. Okay, good. Otoko, we could know because of the no. And kuzu, like crap or really bad insult, like you're a piece, you're a low life. You beat me to sonna bakana. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Okay. 定額になった。暇だ。All right. What do we got here? Any nouns? Any not adjectives? This first kanji is teigaku, teigaku. Oh yeah, I can write it for you guys. ちょっと待ってね。And then the second one is ima. Yeah. You know, looking up kanji is essentially based on what you already know. Like, if you don't know any kanji, just look up the simplest looking kanji. Yeah. And eventually, like, well, you know what the second kanji means, right? 5? You know what this one means, right? So my advice is, if you know one of the kanjis in a word, yeah, right? If you know one of the kanji in a word, just look up the word. Like, just look it up. Teigaku, it's not super common, but whatever. Just learn it. You'll see this kanji enough to it being worth looking up. It's worth looking up because you'll see at least the you might not see this word a ton, but you will see te enough to where it's worth looking up. All right. So we actually have a non-adjective and a noun here. Noun is teigaku. You can just know. You'll get there eventually. Yeah, sure. You can either just know, or ni naru is a very good, ni naru or ni nata is a very good indicator that this is going to be a noun or an adjective. Himada. Okay. That's why I like this show, is he talks kind of anime like, and you get to see a lot of like very obvious kind of grammar indications. Hima is actually a na adjective, right? How do I know? How am I supposed to know that? Well, you don't, but you at least know that it's noun or na. You know which category it is. You know what color marble it is. So you can very easily identify it. And that means you know how to conjugate. Oh, if it's hima da, then it's hima janai. Hima janakatta. Hima datta. Right? And do you see how just by being able to identify one thing about it lets us know 1, 2, 3, 4, let's just say 5 or 6 more ways of identifying it in the future, or identifying something similar. Like, that's why this is so powerful. That's why you need the conjugation, right? Just knowing it by itself is not enough, but knowing the conjugation is going to show you 5 to 6 different other ways that you can recognize it and identify it in the future. That's super good. That's super good. That's like learning 6 words at a time. I think that's pretty efficient if you just learn the conjugation. So yeah. All right, easy one. Easy. 簡単。これは簡単です。That's right. That's right. So E is always used with nouns and non-adjectives, while E endings are kunakatta or kunatta. There you go. So this is all just basic grammar. It's all just basic grammar. And this is, I'm not even kidding. Within the first 3 months, this is what I arrived at. I was like, oh, everything's just very clearly in its own category. 簡単ではありません. Just identifying it is pretty easy, Rodrigo. We're just trying to figure out, is this, out of this short sentence, is it a noun or a non-adjective? That's all we're trying to do. So do you know the answer to that? Or do you know how I would say the opposite of this? So if this is ski, how would I say not like? He's saying, I love her. I like her. Hey, stalker. 簡単だよ. Should be. Right? Same deal. We have da as our ending. So we know that this is a noun, not adjective conjugation. Okay, there we go. Another 6 words, basically. Ski. Ski じゃない. Ski だった. Ski じゃなかった. Ski です. Ski でした. Ski ではありません. Ski ではありませんでした. Technically, like, if we count everything meticulously, 9 different words per kirai. I guess kirai is the only exception to that little E ending rule, huh? About the kanji. Technically, it comes from a verb, though, which is why that happens. But, you know, that's why it's an exception. Right? So 9 different words just because we know how to conjugate 1 out of 3 categories, right? So that's why this is so valuable. And you can see how quickly, like, the webs are spreading. Like just because I knew that this conjugates this way, and then it's like boom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other words, and then, you know, maybe an adaptation of that. Boom, 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 boom. So every time you just learn one new non-adjective or noun, you're learning 9 different ways that it can be used. And then the next time it pops up, hey, maybe it wasn't skida the next time. Maybe the next time it's skidatta. But you're going to be able to instantly process it. You're putting the marble into the bowl, whatever. This one is probably for a little bit more advanced people. So I'll just say it straight up. じゃあ、俺、本格的に変えるわ. Okay. I only want to point this out. Well, let's see. Can you guys, let's see how you do. Can you pick out the nouns, non-adjectives? Nouns and non-adjectives. There's no E endings in here. The wa. No, the wa is a, this is a, we'll just call it a particle, but it's called gobi, which I call emotional flavor. This is actually the kansai ben wa, but it's used in all of standard dialect. But yes, ore is the noun. Honkaku teki ni is actually the non-adjective. So I only wanted to point this one out because teki right here, things that end in teki are always non-adjectives. So it's just a good one to know because there's so many words that end in teki. So even if you just learned this one kanji, it would be a pretty good one to learn, just because it's going to keep popping up over and over and over. I thought it was the wa women use. That's why I was laughing at ore and wa being nope. Yeah. And you'll be able to hear it. It's because if you watched it, you might have known. But he would say, ore honkaku teki ni kaeru wa. Kaeru wa. Kaeru wa. Kaeru wa. Yeah. So yeah, wa is not always the woman one. The only time you'll see wa used, honkaku. Honkaku. Usually that can work at bridge. In this case, I don't. Honkaku. It might be, but I've never heard that used. A lot of times it is. Like kihon teki ni is a good example. Like kihon teki ni. And then oftentimes kihon is used like that. Kihon wa. Yeah, that's pretty common occurrence, I think. Stuff like this, and then koi is a word. Oops. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of random ones, but yeah. Yes, that can be true, but honkaku. Maybe I just don't feel familiar with it, but yeah. And there we go. Just like within 1 minute or so, I can't remember how much longer, maybe like a 5-minute period, we saw hima, I think twice, and then here it is again. Boom. Hima nahi arimasu ka? Like, you can see how simple these sentences are, right? It's just, right? Thing, na, thing, verb. Once you learn how to identify verbs, like we technically haven't, but I'm just saying they're very simple. A lot of times they're very simple. So like, the simpler show that you use, the better off you're gonna be. Himanahi. So like himanahi means like, are there any days you're free? Arimasu ka? Are there any, or is there a day when you're free, or something like that. But this is why, guys, just keep watching. Just keep watching. The name of this anime is Ore Mono. It's called My Love Story in English, or Ore Monogatari in Japanese. Honestly, it would have been funny if this was called like Gorilla Love or something. I don't know. Just My Love Story just feels too cutesy. Yeah, no problem. I really recommend this anime. I think it's just good and funny, and like just well done. But I think it's just so basic and simple in all the right ways. Like, if you actually want to get good, watch this and do what I'm telling you. And I promise you, you will see success. I promise. So if you just keep watching, you often find the answer to your question. You're like, I don't know. Himanahi. Now it's clear as day. Clear as day, right? Here's the adjective connecting to a noun. Anikura doga koshinchu. I was reading the konnichiwa. Baka no koto ga suki nanode mite mimasu. Okay. Otsukare-san, Regento. So this is from last time. Ore omae kirai. Definitely not. I mean, there's nothing to wonder about, but all three of these, noun, and then not adjective. And you might not know that, right? We talked about this last time. Daijoubu. Totally fine, right? Even if you misunderstand that kirai is, you're like, oh, this is an e ending, it's an e ending for like 10 episodes of something. But then finally one day you will see kiraina, and probably is not going to take that long, but like kiraina, and you go, oh, like, as long as you're paying attention, you'll pick up on it, and then you'll correct yourself, and you go, oh my gosh, I kept saying kirakatta to say like I hated it, but nobody understood me. That's why they didn't understand me. Or like, I didn't realize I was making a mistake this whole time, you know. This is not relevant, right? Another da. So even though it's an e ending, we have the da, so we know that it is in fact a noun, right? So this is why I said, like, how do we identify stuff? It's by knowing the grammar, right? What slide was that? Slide 12. Okay, that's why we say this. Basic grammar rules. Okay, if I know that nouns and adjectives or this group ends in da, then it's impossible for it to be any other group. Okay, that's how we know. So I'm like, oh, this looks like an e ending, but I see da here, therefore it's not an e ending, therefore it's something else. Let me look it up. Oh, it's like a fight. Okay, cool. Batoru, right? Kuyashi, we get rid of it. What are we left with? Noun. Grammar we don't worry about yet, but it's hiragana, so we'll look at it later, but you can wonder about it. Verb we don't know yet, but we'll get there. Noun. Kuso, which I'm sure you know if you've watched a little bit of anime. Okay. Ima no hito. Okay, hito, usually people pick that out. No. So ima, we can figure out noun. And maybe you just eliminate this as an e ending. That's fine. Kimi. Noun. We see the no, so noun. Ni can often indicate that it's a noun. Kawaii, get rid of it. Hito. Noun. Ignore ga. Verb. Grammar. So I'm kind of just showing you guys essentially what you can do once you can identify everything. You don't even need to know the words, okay? But being able to do this will help you understand everything much better. And so this te part, if you know, we'll look at this next week, I suppose, but knowing all the verb conjugations lets you know that this is not part of the conjugation. Not part of the conjugation. Betsu ni ii kedo. Betsu. Betsu. This is one of those weird ones where it's kind of both. Sometimes you say no or na, but it doesn't really matter what it is linguistically. You got betsu ni. Okay, so it's ni, so it's probably na, noun or na. Get rid of the e. Kedo we'll learn through the hiragana rule or grammar. And this is one you're going to see all the time is kedo or dakedo. Right? Just flying through them. All right. It's just like that. Okay? So, our another quest. Same thing. This guy, he's still blind. You got to guide him. You got to be the one looking through the anime. Hello, dear traveler. Are you all on your own? I could use your help as I am blind. I miss watching anime. Will you watch one for me and give me the dirty deets? So go and fetch usages. 10 nouns, 10 adjectives. I guess actually, hold on. They'll come up very frequently. More than getting 20, you can do that. Right? The particles can help you identify them. But here you go. I made it easier for you this time. This is what you're looking for. Okay? The ones that don't have anything following them, maybe it's a little harder. Still blind. Is there any grammar that's in kanji? No. Not really. Unless you just consider, like, there's like little things that maybe you could say it's grammar, but in general. Oh, do you mean like, do any grammar have kanji? Yes, absolutely. For sure. But when you're just starting out, most of the time, especially when you're just watching stuff, the large majority of all grammar is in hiragana. and that's where you start, right? We don't have to do everything. We don't need perfect rules, but if just saying, hey, hiragana rule, there's a word in hiragana, I don't know it, I'm gonna look it up, you're gonna be very quickly learning and doing things very well. So that's your goal, okay? That's your quest. You're looking for stuff. I want to see the word and I want to see the ending after. It might not have an ending after, that's okay. And feel free to just post screenshots if you want, but boom, the word, what comes after it. Maybe you'll find some variations in there if you're watching some weirder stuff like jatta. Some old guy talking, maybe. All right. Janai, so I want the word before it, janai. Word before it, janakatta. Word before it, jaarimasen. Word before it, dewa arimasen, or deshita, or whatever. Okay? So you're looking for, the endings are your best friend. If the endings aren't there, or you're still confused, particles like no, ga, you know, ni, maybe de, e, maybe o, whatever is before the o, can help you. Okay? No wonder when I watch the news, they have a million kanji in the row. Yeah, the news is a different story. Okay. So let's keep doing the quest. I'll do it this week. I'll try to catch up. You know, even if you didn't do it last time, go ahead. You can do it again. But yeah, I know it seems like a lot, but it's intentional. Okay. This is a drill, right? We're not just, once we get over this, yeah, then instead of 10 per episode, like ideally, like we're just going to keep running into the same stuff, and eventually, maybe at the beginning it's like 20 new things, especially nouns, but we're really not worried about nouns. Like, don't worry about learning egg, fridge, milk, like it's okay. Just if you see, we'll talk about that later, I guess, but yeah, for now we're just identifying. Okay. So nouns, something like this. Adjectives, something like this. Okay. So it's intentionally a lot so that we can learn a lot quickly and you can get it drilled into you. And, you know, right now is just like that. We're not trying to understand. We're not trying to like figure out what the anime is about. No, we're just using one episode to try to figure stuff out and learn how to identify what's what in any Japanese sentence, so that, okay, now I can start to learn. Now that I was like, oh, that's an E adjective I don't know yet, let's start there, right? And then you can look it up. And yeah, thanks for the stream. Yeah, if anybody wants to become good at any skill, you need to focus on one thing at a time. That much is certain. So that's kind of, I mean, a big part of this is like, if you're trying to learn how to understand anime or like study Japanese, like this is a foolish attempt. It's foolish to think that you can do this. Like it's foolish. Are you native? Are you fluent? Are you like really good at Japanese already? Like, then that's impossible. So let's not set for ourselves an impossible goal. Like, you know, like if you can't, it's like trying to make a basketball shot from like the other side of the court. Like, why don't, like, can you make a layup first? Like, can you just score the ball from right next to it? No? Okay, well, maybe let's start there, and then you'll move back and you'll get, oh, 3-pointers. You suck at 3-pointers. Well, okay, let's start there, and then you keep moving back or whatever. But it's just like, you know, or you can't dribble. You don't even know how to dribble the basketball, or you don't know how to kick a soccer ball or whatever, but you're like, I'm ready to be in the pros. It's like, what? Oh, you don't even know how to dribble a basketball. Yeah. Well, I hope you guys have fun. Next time, we have to set it we have to have a lot of time. And like, look, it's not gonna be fun unless it's not gonna be quote unquote fun. Like, it's not gonna be exciting, I should say. But I'm gonna teach my way of verb conjugation, which, as far, it's similar, I guess, to what some stuff I've seen, but as far as I know, nobody else puts verbs together the way that I do, as far as I know. So, but again, this is just another thing my brain naturally did. Yeah, when we're all fluent. It's just what my brain naturally did when I got to Japan and started speaking and needed to learn. So yeah. All right. I have a lesson now. He's almost here. But yeah. All right. Arigato. So I'll try to see you next week. It's going to be, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I might need to split it into 2 streams because it's just verbs is just a lot. It's just a lot. But yeah. All right. Mata ne.